WWE has just made a pretty major announcement about an upcoming pay-per-view. We're going to talk about what this announcement was, what it means for WWE and some of their programming in the fall. And also, we're going to talk about Shane McMahon to AEW rumors. Is it happening? Well, one former AEW talent says that they're a little bit skeptical. We're going to talk about it, go over all the updates. I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, so today WWE announced in a pretty interesting video package featuring Cody Rhodes and, of all people, Metro Boomin, that WWE Bad Blood will be returning. This was an event that WWE put on in 97, 2003, and 2004. They are bringing it back Saturday, October 5th. So it is going to be a seminal PLE. I was almost said pay-per-view. I apologize. PLE coming this fall. There were rumors and reports that they were considering bringing back Bad Blood a few months ago, and now we have seen this kind of come full circle. It is happening State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, which also just happens to be the hometown of one WWE Undisputed Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Well, let's talk about how this kind of came together. The original reports were that WWE were looking into doing something around like Bad Blood and bringing back these pay-per-view names. We know that Triple H has talked about how, he's not necessarily a fan of having pay-per-views named after, PLEs named after stipulation matches. Hell in a Cell was like a big one for him. He said that in his mind, Hell in a Cell should be something you build up to, not something that just kind of happens. And if the story warrants it, that is when you bring that stipulation out. Well, I think this is a way for WWE to kind of have their cake and eat it too. And I mean that in a good way, because before, like, even the name Hell in a Cell, it was kind of just very boring, bland, and uncreative. At least if they are going to move forward with doing a yearly pay-per-view where they feature a Hell in a Cell match, Bad Blood is at least in the spirit of that name and more creative in that light, because Bad Blood, of course, in 1997 was where the original Hell in a Cell match between the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and Undertaker happened, and that was where we saw the return, the debut, I should say, of that Kane, where Vince McMahon had that infamous line, "That's gotta be Kane." And obviously that changed the trajectory of both the Undertaker and Kane's careers, and also altered WWE history in that respect, because then we obviously got that Hell in a Cell match. So it seems that that is the likely scenario here, that this is going to build up to some sort of Hell in the Cell match. And again, with this being Cody's hometown, there's a lot of intrigue into what that could mean for him. There's also a certain group in WWE who just happened to be named the Bloodline. And if we just go back real quick and look at the logo for WWE Bad Blood, one thing you can see is there are a little bit of remnants of blood and that blood drop, kind of reminiscent of the Bloodline logo. So there's also obviously the idea that they could fit in the Bloodline into this as well. So there's a lot that's happening. There's a lot that's, going on in WWE right now. And them bringing back a pay-per-view, I think, especially one that has a pretty positive light in fans' eyes. I think like many fans were really happy about the news of them potentially bringing back Bad Blood. And again, I just think that combined with having a pay-per-view in Atlanta, Georgia, in Cody's hometown for his first big world title reign, I think that crowd is going to be electric. They're going to be at the State Farm Arena. That is where the Atlanta Hawks play, of course. So they're going to try to pack that puppy up as much as they can, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, big news in WWE as they are going to Atlanta for WWE Bad Blood. As we move on to our next topic, let's talk about Shane McMahon, the man of the hour, the man of money, the man of everything, Shane McMahon. So obviously, over the past number of weeks, there have been several rumors about Shane McMahon reaching out to AEW, them reaching back out, talks between the two, and largely these have been dismissed. The only real, like, concrete report we have about this that was even confirmed by anyone was Mercedes Moné and Shane McMahon having a conversation at LaGuardia Airport right after AEW Forbidden Door. Both of them were on their way to their gates. They exchanged numbers. And look, Mercedes in her newsletter this week did tease the idea of, like, hey, you never know what's going to happen. And I think, obviously, like, there's a little bit of working going on there. Tony Khan was asked about the potential for Shane McMahon, and I believe the quote was something to the effect of, Shane is always welcome in AEW, but he has not spoken to him as of yet. So, again, where there's smoke, there tends to be fire, but one former AEW star does not agree. That person being Matt Hardy, who took to his Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast and said the following about the situation. Quote, he's not. I heard from someone, none of that was true. It's Matt fiction. Oh, that's really funny. 100%, yeah. It would be wild. Shane reached out to someone. I said, like, why is all of this talk of me and AEW? Why is it going on? People started texting me about it, and I reached out to someone and asked them about it, which was interesting. So that was Matt Hardy basically saying that, you know, Shane McMahon was as surprised as anyone when the news broke of him potentially joining All Elite Wrestling, and, you know, him saying that, you know, this is just like speculation. It's not going to happen. But what I will say is, like, it is interesting how, like, sometimes these things come together, because a lot of times, right, you know, CM Punk was not going to return to WWE until kind of, like, people started speculating about him, being like, that makes sense. And then kind of both sides were like, yeah, that does kind of make sense. And obviously then, like, contact was made. Like, in wrestling especially, like, sometimes you don't know until, like, the idea is kind of just put out there. Because, like, I'm sure at this point, Shane has at least been like, what would this look like? Or at least thought about what could this, you know, this partnership or whatever look like, even if it's just a one-off. Like, would it be worth the amount of money that he would be getting paid? Like, these things are thought about in that respect, right? I'm sure at least some thought has been given to it. I'm sure when Tony Khan thought about it, or first heard about it, he thought about it as well and was like, what would this look like? And look, I doubt that anything has gone past that, but I think the fact that we're hearing that Shane was at least, like, texting people and being like, hey, what's going on here? That is at least showing interest in this whole situation. Which, again, things happen in wrestling. You never say never. Like, the degree to which dominoes fall, especially in professional wrestling, that just lead to the most wild outcomes, they're crazy, right? I mean, like, think about, again, I bring up CM Punk a lot. He is, like, the prime example of this. Everything that had to happen for CM Punk to go back to WWE is, like, something that is absolutely unimaginable. Yet it happened. And if there's one thing that we can honestly say about wrestling in the modern day, it is never say never. And Shane and AEW, honestly, like, even if it's just, like, him coming in and doing, like, one story, I think he has, like, a lot of credibility and intrigue amongst fans, right? You don't want him booking anything. Like, for God's sakes, do not have Shane McMahon booking anything. But I think he could be a very interesting character on AEW TV, especially in the midst of this war between AEW and the Elite. Like, who better to combat, like, Tony Khan's faction of the Elite, of AEW, than another billionaire's son, than another person who, like, can come across as a horrible person sometimes, right? In storyline. Like, Shane McMahon can be a very despised person when he wants to be. And I think that could help. Like, that's where I would see him fitting in. I could very well see him fitting into this storyline between the AEW kind of originals and the Elite that are kind of building up. And I think he fits that bill perfectly. He's, like, literally in many ways, in wrestling terms, like the direct opposite of Tony Khan. Like, whereas Shane McMahon had very little power as far as the final say in WWE, Tony Khan has that. They're both sons of billionaires, yet like the dichotomy is there. So a lot of interesting stories that could be told there, but I think that's the one that I would go with. We'll see if it ever ends up happening. Look, at this point, I highly doubt it, but again, never say never. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Would you like to see Shane McMahon in All Elite Wrestling? Would you like to see him just kind of go away? Let me know in the comment section. Also, let me know what you guys think about Bad Blood coming back. Who should Cody Rhodes potentially face in Hell in the Cell? I want to hear from y'all. Also, be sure, if you haven't already done so, to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.